One other issue to consider in connection with a cross-border transaction really won't surprise anyone, and that's tax structuring. But what's interesting about tax structuring cross-border is that the ramifications of a transaction for a buyer and a seller can be radically different than they would be under the laws of the same jurisdiction if both parties were under the same jurisdiction. So at the very outset of a cross-border transaction, the parties really need to step back and make sure they understand the structure of the deal and what implications might flow to the various parties. I'll give you an example. Many years ago, I was working on a transaction where there were some foreign buyers and some domestic buyers of a company. And we decided to set up an acquisition vehicle in the British Virgin Islands that would be owned jointly by the domestic and foreign purchasers. The tax consequences for how the operations of the business would work following the closing were very different, depending upon whether that BVI entity was a flow-through entity for tax purposes or whether it was a corporation that had its own tax status. And one thing I learned in that transaction is that there is such a thing in international tax as a hybrid entity, that for some of the owners, it could be treated as a corporation under the laws of certain jurisdictions. And for other owners of that business, it could be treated as a flow-through entity for their own tax law purposes. In fact, we set up such a hybrid entity in that transaction, and I've used it many times since. The very convenient device when you have participants in the transaction from different jurisdictions.